hello everyone, and welcome to the next event in our series of Connected Compliance Dialogues. I'm Joanna Ludlam, the Global Co-Chair of Compliance and Investigations at Baker McKenzie. And today I'm very pleased to be joined by Cindy Terme, who is the Head of Ethics and Integrity at Salesforce for EMEA, UK and Ireland. And Cindy also oversees the team in Latin America. Cindy, it's very nice to see you again. Thanks very much for joining me.
Thank you. It's great to see you too.
But it's fantastic that we've been able to, notwithstanding the technology and the lack of physical meeting, we've been able to get to know one another and build a relationship. And I think there's something about this pandemic that has enabled us in the workplace to really have some more deep conversations on a more personal level, I think.
Well, I almost think, especially from the beginning, because you and I talked very early in this situation, it was so dramatic for all of us the way the world shut down. Yeah. And so it would have been, we almost needed to have those more personal conversations, sort of level jumping conversations with everyone we talked to that was outside of our home, because I mean, most of us were grateful and still are grateful to have those communications with people outside of our home. And so yeah, I do think it allows, in a weird way, for us to all, we're seeing each other in our home environments. We're seeing our kids, our pets, our spouses. We're seeing, all kinds of life that we didn't used to see.
And the world has definitely changed, that's for sure. But for you, I mean, your world changed pretty dramatically just before the lockdown anyway, because you made a big move from the US to France. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
So the opportunity came up sort of pre-pandemic, and we planned, and we got documents. And for my husband, it's coming home. His family is here, and he's French, and so it just seemed like such a great opportunity. So we packed up and we left our house in the Bay Area in late February, and we showed up and we had this really kind of fun week in Paris. I was really only in the office in Paris for about 10 days.
And so what about work? So you had 10 days with your colleagues, and not a very long time to connect and build a relationship. How has it been with your compliance role really interacting with the business? Have you been able to build some relationships with the business, notwithstanding the challenges?
Yeah, I think so, in part for some of the same reasons that we talked about at the beginning. It's you get to a different level, you can get to a different level more quickly. But there's been a couple of pros and cons to it, right? I mean, on the positive side, I think people are really engaged right now. They're really engaged, and at least in the first 3 months, there were a lot of new issues that were coming up. And one of the things I love about Salesforce is the innovation and the creativity that exists. So when this situation hit, I think some people get frozen by that, but I mean, our product team, our sales teams, our marketing teams, I mean, they just went into full on overdrive with all these great ideas. And, the processes, as a compliance person, you rely and you sleep at night because you have regular and normal processes in place. And then there's always something new, but you have some time to think. Maybe, well, in a tech company, there's always never a lot of time, but you would have time to sort of think about it. In this case, I mean, you think about things like your gift and entertainment tool. I mean, at least for a while, like that was the quietest place on the planet. People weren't sending and giving gifts, but the concepts of donations and the concepts of giving in the communities that were really hard hit, those were a lot of issues that we needed to think about. We needed to think about, how is our marketing team going to reach out to customers? How are we going to reinvent things with the situation that we have?
Yeah, I can imagine that's a real challenge. So how did you reinvent compliance?
I can't say I did, but I was thinking about this a little bit. Like there are some aspects of my job that aren't different, right? I was always going to be based in France, but I have a pan global role in some ways. And so my direct team was always going to be remote to me. So the skills of this pandemic actually just accelerate my learning for how to engage with the team that I was going to have anyway. I was never going to be all the time with everybody in the different offices. So in large part, the pandemic just gave me the opportunity to sort of sit down and say, how do you engage with people when you can't see them? which was going to be so much of my job anyway. And I liken myself sometimes to a used car salesperson. You know, you just got to keep getting yourself out there and trying to find a hook and trying to find a relevant topic to bring into people's day, trying to help, trying to listen, trying to provide support, enthusiasm, positivity. And the other tool is a little bit of relentless social media stalking, right? So, and I don't mean external social media. I mean, I'm not looking for people's Facebook profiles or anything, but getting to know people with the tools that exist within the company. We have an internal, chatter page. How can we use that tool? How can we use that social media tool, not just to push content out, but to listen to what other people are saying? And that has been, I think, the transformation from 6 months ago to now for me is to be listening more and watching more and trying to bring something to help.
I think that's a really important insight, actually, Cindy. And, the connected compliance philosophy is really about how we transform the compliance function from being a back office police style function to really being integrated within the business and being able to participate in driving strategy and really understanding what the risks are that the business is facing on the front line. And that listening that you referred to is really important, but it's really quite difficult to do, and especially when you're remote. So how did you manage to insert yourself into conversations with the business?
Well, like I said, we have this great tool on Salesforce. We obviously use Salesforce at Salesforce, and it's our internal chatter. And so you can follow people like you would just on any social network, right? So I started with executives, and then I started with people in different departments, and you start to watch the communication that's happening. So I kind of have sort of morphed my way of thinking about, like, these people need to be experts on the FCPA or the UK Bribery Act or Sapin-2 or any of these specific details, more so than they need to think about what their brand message is. They need to think about what they need to know to do their job, and then they need to know who to call.
I agree. It's a really pragmatic philosophy, I think, to make sure that they know who rather than what, because as you say, you can't expect everyone to be across the details of all of the legislation and be able to know the answers to every question they have, but at least to spot the issues and know who to contact about it.
There's no room to be in anymore. So you've got to figure out where you can be to help spot the issues, developing those key relationships. But it is hard when we all know all of these, how to judge the compliance programs, the DOJ guidance, all these guidance, and you read those and it's like, you can break those down into tasks. And tasks can be very satisfying to fulfill. And we have to do that, right? So do we have the policy? Do we have this? Do we have all these tools? But that's just one piece. And so you have to, I always sort of think about my day, and it's like, did I work on both sides of my brain today? Did I work on, and I think, if you think about compliance as the brain, it's like, did I work on the relationship and the soft skills side? And did I work on the substance and did I change something? So I think it's trying to give yourself, I think, as a compliance person, the permission to go out and learn the business, the permission to go out and build the relationships, and to balance that against those other deliverables that are much more tangible and concrete.
Absolutely. And so have you had to change any of the way you do things to be able to, for example, conduct investigations in this remote environment?
One obvious thing, obviously, for investigations is you don't have people in the office, right? And so, in different jurisdictions, you have to sort of think through the practicalities of it. Is it okay to have a meeting on Zoom? Or will a court look at that and say that wasn't appropriate? It should have been a face-to-face meeting, or it should have been, different places have had, different regimes that allow you to, be a little bit more flexible during this time period. But at the end of the day, I think I always think about investigations. Our job is to get to the answer Our job is to do it in a really objective and fair and kind way. And so we're not, we're recognizing the environment that we're in, and I'm not sure we needed a lot of adjustments, but one of the things that we do have to sort of think about is the empathy for the people who are involved, really thinking about it from an empathetic, really understanding where the employees are coming from, working with our outside lawyers to really make sure we understand what the specific rules are and if we have flexibility, and how we can essentially get to the right answer without doing it in a way that is unfair or.
It will be very interesting to see what the future of work looks like. I don't think we in the legal world have yet really worked that out. Professional services, we don't have to be in the office to do to do our jobs. So what is the purpose of the office of the future? And in my mind, it's about, a space for collaborating, a space for interacting with colleagues. But what does that look like? How do you encourage the workplace to work for that purpose? What do you think Salesforce's future is like in terms of the physical workplace?
It's hard to say. I think I would suspect that we're pretty dedicated to a place of collaboration. And I think of it as, when I don't commute to work anymore, I don't see that random person who might be, the busker on the street who plays some amazing song. And I don't see those 5 people who are wearing some really innovative different outfit, right? Or you don't see the art, the design, the creativity. And I think about that in the office. You don't get pulled into that random meeting because someone saw you. Oh, you know what? There's a meeting this afternoon. You should come. You should. And so that all of those unexpected experiences. You might have new unexpected, but my calendar is pretty blocked. Like, I know when I get up in the morning, these are the 9 hours of Zoom that I have, and it doesn't leave much room for the unexpected.
Yeah.
And I suspect that, given that we're a culture of relationships and a culture of fun and a culture of creativity and innovation, that it will look different, and maybe we'll go in a couple days a week. I don't know, but I do think there is value in the unexpected that you get when you're at the office.
How do you get inspiration when you're not feeding off other people and their ideas? It must be really difficult, I think, to innovate in a virtual world.
Well, it's one of the things from a compliance perspective. I think we're really lucky as a practice and as a profession, because there's so much benchmarking and networking and sharing that can take place. And so it's virtual now, but we still have that opportunity to get together professionally and exchange ideas and best practices and concepts. And I think that is one tool that I think still is pretty helpful.
But look, Cindy, this has been absolutely fantastic, really informative. It's been fantastic to connect with you again. And I hope we do get the chance to meet in person before too long.
We will. I look forward to it.